Hello, everyone. My name is Edrik Chong, and I'm the co-founder and CTO of Sprout. I recently graduated university with my bachelor's degree in computer science, and ever since graduating, have just been working full-time on Sprout. Essentially, at Sprout, we're building a gamified note-taking platform designed to help students perform better on tests by creating highly personalized and adaptive quizzes based off of both the students' notes and textbooks used in their class curriculum.
And what's interesting, so what problem first sparked the idea for the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So, originally Sprout started off as just a side project between me and my co-founder Deepak during our last year of undergrad. And originally Sprout was meant to be just a more student-centric note-taking platform that was supposed to be easier for students to use, that didn't require like a lot of onboarding or like a big learning curve. And actually we found, so since we were building it, during school, we also spoke to a lot of students around us to kind of get their feedback on how are things going in terms of their note taking and how they're finding it. So we actually found that a lot of them, including ourselves, were having trouble actually getting down all the information from class and then retaining it. So that's when we realized that taking notes was actually just half the battle. Because, including myself, right? If I'm writing down a ton of notes in lecture, it's kind of less learning and more regurgitating everything I'm seeing and just slapping it all on a page. So yeah, that's when we kind of wanted to make the notes you take in class so much more valuable, and by being used as the fuel for all the study tools inside Sprout. Because, having notes is one thing, but how you actually use them to study is when you actually learn.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Cool. Okay, and how did your first version of or MVP look compared to what you guys have got together now?
Oh, I mean, where do I even start with that? I can say it definitely has gone through a lot of iterations. Definitely used to look so different than how it obviously does now. Yeah, so since it did start off as a side project, we were kind of learning as we went on, which I guess in the first stages of the MVP, that is pretty apparent that we were definitely, playing around, seeing what we can do, what works, what doesn't. One example I can think of actually is, so one of the times when we were creating the editor for the note taking, we have spent hours, tweaking it, looking through documentation, making sure everything was wired up correctly. And then when I finally went to go test it out, I sit down there on my laptop, I start taking in a few notes, and everything I typed in was just being typed in backwards for some reason. And we just to this day, we don't know why. So if I typed in, hello, it's OLLEH. I don't know. That was pretty funny. And then, yeah, in terms of the UI, the interface, everything, that definitely from, we got a lot of constructive feedback from both classmates, friends on is this working? Does this, how is this? And kind of took all of that. And it was overall just a very iterative, process.
Yeah, cool. And then what would you say is the one thing you thought you knew about startups that turned out to be completely wrong?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So when Deepak and I were first discussing making a startup, actually, we kind of were using that word a lot without really knowing what a startup even was. We were like, hey, yeah, let's make a startup. It's sure. Not really knowing what we would get ourselves into. Yeah, but basically, in terms of what I thought I knew about, I definitely have heard that startups, they require a lot of work. There's so much work to be done. And I actually found that to be, I wouldn't say wrong, but I'd say I find that to be quite an understatement. Because I think, building a startup is a lot of work. it's something you don't really feel it until you're actually kind of doing it. So I think hearing it's a lot of work might be an understatement, because it's a lot more than a lot of work. But yeah, that's part of what makes it, I guess that's part of what makes it so exhilarating sometimes, because it's just, you really get to see everything kind of come together, like as you work on it. So
Yeah, you're not in a situation where you're coming in every day doing the same tasks, etc. It's you've got lots of things you need to take care of, right?
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So what's a lesson that only building Sprout has taught you, something maybe that you wouldn't get from a textbook or a course, etc.?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I would actually like to say that something that really is, I would say, super important, and maybe even a pinnacle for us, has been like the importance of networking and finding like some sort of mentor or someone in your field that can really help you with your issues. Because I feel like with a lot of books or courses, some may be showing personal accounts or kind of giving some sort of advice that does work great, but I feel like nothing is really one size fits all. And having just the opportunity to speak to someone, a mentor or someone in the field, I just think is something you just can't learn anywhere. I mean, I think it's incredibly helpful.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And then, how did you convince your first investor or your first customer to believe in the vision that you guys have?
Right. So although we are pre-release currently at the moment, our first large user base is coming from Stoughton High School, and we're currently piloting with them with up to 200 students. And yeah, so a little bit about how we actually ended up going about that. So thanks to Deepak, he is actually from Stoughton, so worked out great. But we were able to get a meeting with the superintendent of like the Stoughton district, and from there we kind of just had to. It took a few tries. We sent them our one pager a few times. We kind of really had to get ourselves in there and kind of show. And when we did get the meeting, we started off a lot by talking about our vision, but tied in with how we saw it, us being students. So we were saying that we're building this tool to help students because we ourselves face these same problems, and we want to see, we'd love to pilot with your school to see how effective it could help, your school, and how like we can, get things rolling with that. So, and it worked out really well that the superintendent also, he seemed very eager to, try out to see how AI powered tools in the education system, how they could benefit, how, they can be used. So kind of, it was through that we were able to eventually, streamline the process into a pilot.
Yeah, brilliant. And you've touched on the importance of a mentor or mentors already, but have there been any local mentors, meetups, or resources that have made a difference to you and Sprout?
Yes, a ton. Like I said, it's definitely been a pinnacle for us. It's been super important. So yes, there's definitely a few I'd like to mention chronologically. So when we were still in university, there was this club called the Rising Entrepreneurship Association, REA, and they helped bridge the gap between, the school student-led club to this in-house startup incubator at our university called the VDC, Venture Development Center. And through there, they kind of helped connect us with, all the in-house startups that were currently working there, the director, all of that. But also, before even that, just the club itself, actually, they've helped Deepak and I think about Sprout, especially when we were first starting out, as more than just, hey, we're just doing a little side project. I remember us coming in there saying, we have an idea. We're like building something, but we don't, what is a startup? Like, how do we start thinking in terms of a company and not just, we're building something cool. So they helped tremendously, the club itself. We also got to receive mentorship from the director of the VDC. he has been an immense help to his amount of expertise, and quite honestly putting us through the ringer a lot has helped a lot, because it really helped strengthen what problem are we really trying to solve, why does it matter, to who, all those important questions that we would have never thought. Besides thinking in features, that's something we were told we were doing a lot, like, hey, it can do this and this and this, but why does it matter? Yeah, and then from there, they helped bring together both the club and the VDC. They helped bring together a university-wide pitch competition at our school, and that was even better of an experience. We got to really pitch in front of a panelist of very experienced judges that, like, also from like the Boston area, that helped really, vet us on our idea. Felt very Shark Tanky. It's quite an experience, but it definitely helped. We ended up getting first place on that, which ultimately drove us to be like, okay, let's go full throttle on this now. Like, this is good. And yeah, and then lastly, coming into where I currently am now, where Sprout is currently operating at, Venture Lane, right in the heart of Boston. Yeah, this place has been a tremendous help in terms of just the amount of connections and mentorship opportunities from being here alone has just been amazing. It's really cool how even just going to get a glass of water, I'm next to, CEOs who have, or like 2 times founders, 3 times founders that have been in the field for so many years, and just a quick conversation, I learned so much. So all of that is just amazing. Yeah.
Perfect. So if it was Shark Tank, you would have walked away with the deal.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So you touched on being in the heart of Boston there. So how do you feel that the Boston startup community could better support early stage founders like yourself?
Right. So once again, going back to the mentorship, I feel like since it is so important, I feel like if there were more open opportunities for mentor matching programs, I know there may be some university specific ones, or scattered in different communities. It would just be nice if they were more accessible or pushed out there for anyone wanting to start. Just getting that early piece of advice would be great. And another thing I would think is, I'd say more access to early stage funding, especially for, founders that aren't particularly maybe working in the software sector and are trying to start something that doesn't have the leanest, startup costs. Would just be great to really just get things kickstarted.
Yeah, cool. Good ideas there, for sure. So, how do you, in terms of managing your own sanity, how do you kind of say through the highs and the lows of kind of trying to build and run your own startup?
Yeah, so to be completely honest, the way I personally stay sane through all of this, I would say, is by having not only a co-founder, but the fact that we were friends for many years before starting the company. I just think that's really what helps make all of this feel so manageable, because we go together as co-founders, but also as friends through every high, every low, every challenge. And I just feel like having that sort of, support, or like, it's not just you, is just really nice, because here I met an incredible solo founder who I just cannot imagine how they can possibly do that all on their own, So honestly, yeah, just having a buddy with you, it just helps tremendously.
So kudos to Deepak.
Yes. Yes.
And then finally, what's a quote or a mindset that you keep returning to yourself?
Right. So I've heard maybe a few variations of this mindset / quote. I do tend to be a little more harsh on myself. So the way I think of it, or the way it plays in my head, is basically the idea that if you are in your comfort zone, you're doing something wrong. And I basically use that to kind of push myself to do things that I normally wouldn't be either willing or just would be very terrified for. One of which was the pitch competition. If I had listened to my instincts or wanted to stay in my comfort zone, I would have just, no, sorry, Deepak, this may be all you, sort of thing. But I was realizing in order to get ahead and really to keep pushing, I can't stay in my comfort zone forever. And, you've just got to do things and get out there. So that's kind of what I really live by. And that's kind of what's like helping me, stay strong, I guess.
Yeah, that's certainly a good mantra to have. Yeah, keep that with you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, listen, look, Edrik, thanks very much for joining today. Like, I really enjoyed the conversation, and best of luck to yourself, Deepak, and Sprout in terms of building the business that you want it to be.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.